Testing. Cool. All right, we got audio. Sorry, it's like 15 seconds behind. So today we're going to be working on some tutorial levels for JumpingJax. So I thought about making the stream a little bit later than I should have, but so far what I've been working on is I have this Google Doc of all the things that I'd like to teach the player, um, and I would. I'm assuming I can hide the. Hold up. I can't hide the URL, or I would show it to you. Here, I'll copy it to a note so you guys can see what I'm thinking. Okay, so the core concepts that the player has to learn. So let's take a step back. We want to operate under the assumption that the player has no idea what they're doing, that they've just downloaded this game and they've never touched a computer in their life, because we want to account for casual players as well as those who are very good at this and want to speedrun. So for those that are coming from like CS:GO and whatnot, they'll have a very easy time picking this up. But maybe you started out playing like Mario or something, and now you're playing basically that game but in 3D. It's going to be a massive change of not only muscle memory for the mechanics that you're going to have to learn, but just understanding how the mechanics themselves work. So we're going to have to basically walk the player step by step through how these things work without using any cutscenes, without taking the player's immersion in the game and just stomping on it. We want to avoid that as much as possible. So our goal today is to just get together a massive list of these tutorials. That way I can bring them to the team and we can either to the team or to people that I can reach out to that will test this for me that have no idea what's going on. The goal is to be able to sit someone down that has no knowledge of the game without me saying anything and watching them play, and they pick up the game without needing any intervention. And so a lot of games do this by either having a cutscene. They'll do it by having like a training like simulator type thing. I don't know what would be a good example of that. I don't know, any like mobile game you download for like the first 20 minutes are gonna like walk you through what all the buttons do and whatnot. Our goal is to make it as minimalistic as possible, so we don't have to do that. So you download the game, you hit play, and you just get to play, right? There's no barrier to entry. So the first thing that we wanted to teach them how they work is checkpoints. Let me go ahead and save the level that I'm working on. So I designed this level. Actually is already in the game. It's basically just going to be you start on a checkpoint and you walk over to a checkpoint, and the goal is just to teach the player what in the world a checkpoint is for those that haven't played a platformer before. In the future, so the game is called JumpingJax, so there will be Jax is the name of my dog who gave me the inspiration for the like theme of the game. So the goal will be to have like your dog sitting at the end of the checkpoint, and the goal of the game is to go find your dog. So when you step on the checkpoint, once the dog model is done, we'll play some sort of animation or something simulating that this is what you're supposed to be doing. Beyond that, what I had done before is I wanted to start teaching people just the basic mechanics. So I designed a level where you have to jump over something, right? There's no way of getting around this. And then you have to crouch to get under this. And then just to reiterate how jumping works, we do it one more time. And then you have two different options here. You can either jump on this platform in the corner, jump on top of this box, and go onto the checkpoint, or in the tutorial text, you can see that this middle platform is just a little bit shorter than the others, which allows you to crouch jump on top of it. So think of like jumping in the air and tucking your knees to your chest. It gives you just a little bit more height. So I wanted to make the player understand how that works. So in the future, I will probably be taking this out, so I force them to understand what's going on here. After that, I just gave them a big open plane for testing how bunny hopping works. For those of you who don't know how it works, um, basically the mechanic. Let me get through the tutorial text. Why do you do this to me, Unity? There we go. I want to know why these windows like lock on me. I'm curious. Oops. Okay, so now that we have a decent viewport, so basically, you have your WASD, right? So I'm just holding W right now. If I hold S, I go backwards. D is to the right, and A is to the left, right? So the core mechanic is once you start running forwards and you hold space, I can let go of W, so I'm just holding the spacebar right now. And since there's no friction applied while you're jumping, it carries your momentum forward, right? So now if I am jumping, so I'm holding nothing but space. So now if I, while holding space, hit A, notice nothing really happens. You get a little bit of velocity to the left, but if you look, if you turn to the left as you're holding A, if you can see in the top left, my speed is actually increasing, right? And I can do the same thing going the other direction, so I can hold D and look to the right, and you can see I'm gaining velocity. Basically what's happening is the movement of me going forward is um, projected onto the vector of me moving to the side, right? So if you basically like multiply those vectors together, as you're turning in between each frame, you're gaining speed as you're turning, right? So that's the very core mechanic of this, and this comes from CS:GO. It's called the mechanic itself is called bunny hopping. So the mechanic itself is somewhat complex. So the goal was to teach the player how to do this in a way that's intuitive. So let's just start with, like we had before, jumping and crouching. So I didn't like the level that I had before because these boxes are repeated, and I think it kind of looks dumb. So instead, what I did was I dropped the floor out, and now you have actual platform. So you have to jump to land on these boxes, and you have to crouch to get under these boxes. So now you have jumping and crouching, right? So you're forced to do those things in a level that's going to look like all of the others. And in the second tutorial level, I apologize if this looks dark. I have baked lighting turned on, which basically means that it needs to calculate. You can see over here we have the baked light maps. Basically, it's um, calculating where the lighting should be on each of these textures. So that way, when it's trying to like, as the player is moving and it knows how the light needs to bounce off one material and, like how bright it needs to be. Like you can see, for example, like basically all these materials is just a black square with a white outline. But you can see the white outlines are picking up color from the point light here, right? So these light maps are storing that data. Well, not from a point light, I don't believe, but because I'm not seeing any orange here. But later on, like if we go look at like the levels with um, the floors that reset you, if we turn on our lighting, give me just a second. So I have to do this for each level, and then when we turn on auto generate, you'll see that down in the bottom right it starts baking the lighting, and you'll see as it starts calculating, and you can basically see like each individual texture is getting calculated, and you can see now that like the ground actually glows blue, and you can see it bleeds off onto the walls, right? So it creates this cool glowy effect. Okay, so the second level that we have basically just teaches you how to jump. Again, it's just reiterating in a different manner that is hopefully a that is hopefully still fun, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So basically it's just a stair stepping pattern, and the last jump is really hard to hit without crouch jumping. You can do it, I've done it once. But crouch jumping makes it a lot easier, so I'm hoping to reinforce that mechanic in just a new level design. So we have jumping and crouching down, right? So in the rest of our levels, we want to keep reiterating jumping, crouching, and jump crouching. But now we want to start teaching the player how to do bunny hopping. So that's where this level comes in. And basically what it is you get, apologies for this giant UI in the way. So basically what this level is it's just a 3x3 set of floor tiles. There is a spot in the between the first checkpoint and the second checkpoint where if you fall down, you get respawned. And you can't make this jump by just running and jumping. What you have to do is you have to run and jump in a circle until you build up enough velocity that you can make it over the edge. And I don't. I think this will be a good level to reinforce how to bunny hop, but I don't think it's good enough to teach the player how to bunny hop because it doesn't force them to learn how to jump in a circle. And I'm really trying to avoid having annoying UI that kind of gets in your way because I know me as a game developer or me as a game player, it annoys me to have to deal with cutscenes and anything that takes me out of just actually playing the game and having fun. Because this isn't like a AAA title or anything, right? So we have to be really careful about breaking the player's enjoyment. Right, so you have three steps, right? You have the hook that brings them into your game and makes them even want to play it in the first place. You have the tutorial that hopefully the hook is strong enough that they don't drop your game in the middle of the tutorial, and then you have the actual gameplay afterwards. So we really have to be careful in this tutorial piece because we don't have enough like marketing or whatever to make it so that people will make it past our tutorial levels and actually go play the rest of the game, right? So um, I'm going to take as much time as I can to really make sure these tutorial levels drive home exactly how this game is to be played without any interference. Um, So yeah, so the last tutorial level I was working on was basically just doing this exact level that I had before, but instead of having the floors here, doing platforms instead. Um, so we will go ahead and give this a try and just see how it works. And you'll notice I have like a particular way that I like to set up my levels so that they're easy to edit in the future. And then we have a bunch of prefabs. So the event system allows us to interact with the UI. The game manager is what controls letting the player know when they've beat the level, popping up the UI for that, as well as keeping track of which level we're on. The hotkey manager allows you to rebind hotkeys. And I believe the reason we have this as, yeah, we've made it its own thing because it's a singleton that basically keeps track of the keys that you have bound versus what the defaults are. And I should probably move that into the game manager so it's all um, one prefab. You can see I did it with some of the other scripts with audio. And then we have the actual player itself. As of right now, the player model is just something that I got off the asset store and I threw a fun material on it. Not necessarily anything that's going to stick. But I just wanted something that'll give me a relative height of the player for testing. Okay, so now that we've created the level, given a little bit of stuff, when we go to hit play, I don't remember if I set up the actual metadata. I did not. Okay, so you can see we're getting some errors here. What's happening is that the um, game manager is trying to reach into the build settings and find the tutorial level. So we have to add that scene. Let's put it. The credits scene will always be last, so I'm just pushing mine up to the end of that, and then later on we will refactor the order of these levels. And then I have data objects that hold the data for each level. And so we'll just call this guy tutorial 4. And you have to give it its build index, which I think was 24. Yeah, 25. So it holds the build index, the level of, or the name of the level, which shows up on the main menu. So if I hit play on the main menu, you'll see it like now it has all of my tutorial levels automatically added to the UI for me. It's dynamic. And then I have a scriptable object called level data that holds, the container of all of them. So we add one more to the array, and we add that guy into it. And let's go make sure it's going to have 2 checkpoints, one for the gravity multiplier. I wonder if I can set a default for that, because that's getting annoying to have to edit. So this is what the script looks like. It has a create asset menu attribute, which allows Unity to put something inside this create menu. So you can see inside subscriptable objects, I have level. So you can see that's reflected in the folder structure that you provide here. What was I doing? For the gravity multiplier. I wonder if we can... I will pull a new Google Chrome tab over here so you can see what I'm doing. Unity scriptable object default value. So if we make it private and give it a serializable tag, I want it to be public though. We'll look into it later, it's not a big deal. Okay, so now I believe I added everything I need. We'll go check. If there's no errors, I have tests, or not tests, but like runtime checks that make sure all of the scriptable objects are set up correctly. Okay, so what I want to test here is I want to test if this is a good enough setup that allows me to practice bunny hopping. So I'm thinking what might be the strategy here is to make these platforms bigger, or more properly spaced out. So let's, I'm not actually sure if this is going to add any level of depth to what you're learning so far. Let's do this. Let's delete all of the other platforms, except for the first one. Make sure it's lined up with the center. I believe our default jump distance is like... Oops, I disabled the player. I disabled the player so I don't have to deal with this UI in my way. The other thing I could do is toggle off the UI layer, I think. If I remembered to put this on the UI layer, which I probably didn't. No, it's on the player layer, which is okay because I think I have some checks elsewhere that check that layer, so I can't get rid of that. So I can do instead is turn off the player layer. There we go. Cool. And I think when I play, that won't impact the UI showing up. Cool, yeah, we can leave it like that. Okay, so what we want to test is, I should know this off the top of my head, but what our jump distance is. So if we look at this from the side and turn on the grid, and I think we could actually move this guy out to like... I can't move it while the game is paused. Oh, it's marked as static. So in order for my light mapping process to work, you can see the static checkbox. Basically what that means is that while the game is running, this object won't move. Um, and all of my like level building, so like the checkpoints, the floors, platforms, walls, and whatnot, we're saying they won't move. That way the light maps can calculate where these objects should be. And then I won't mess with the light maps until the level's like mostly set up. That way I don't have to deal with the lighting recalculating and taking longer. So I think we can actually move this guy. Okay, so this platform is 10 by 10, so from the center to the edge is 5 units. So we'll say, so if we jump at the very edge, we want to see how long our jump is, and I think it's about 7 units at the normal base movement speed. Yep. Okay, so we can make it 7 units. Okay, so let's make it a little bit easier. Let's make it about a 6-unit jump. And the cubes are 2 by 2 by 2. So from the center of the cube over 1 in the x, right? Because it's 2 by 2, so you want to half of that is how far it's going to be from the center to the edge. So if we want it to be 6 units from the edge of this guy, we make it technically 7 units farther than the edge of this guy. So 7 plus the width of this guy would be 12, which is why its z is 12. So what I'm assuming we want to do here is kind of pretend we're like the Fibonacci spiral. If you haven't heard of that, basically it looks like this. And the reason we want to do this, the reason we want to shape our level like this is because if we were to go test on this level, what you'll see in the way that bunny hopping functions is that you can see this little guy here. He's like a ghost run, so he'll show you what you did to complete the level the fastest last time. So you can see he's basically like mapping the movements that I showed you guys previously, because I basically like deleted the data from the last time. Whereas like if I just restarted and ran straight to the end, and rather than clicking the buttons, you can see in parentheses I have an R to retry, so I won't click on the button. But yeah, so now you can see this guy is going to run directly towards the edge because that's what I did last time, and that would be my fastest completion. Okay, so when you're bunny hopping, you can see my speed goes up the quicker that I turn, right? But once I get going too quick, you can see that I lose speed, right? So basically, what we want people to do is jump out in a circle, but as you get going faster, you can't turn as fast. So you can see as I am getting to go faster, if I try and turn at the same rate, you'll see that I actually lose speed, right? So basically, what we want to do is have them jump in a bigger and bigger circle so that they keep gaining speed and understand how that mechanic works. So that's the purpose of the level that we're going to be working on right here. But let's actually make the floors a bit bigger, so that way they are a bit easy. We don't like. The goal of this isn't to have the level be hard, right? The goal of this is to teach the player. So by making the platforms a little bit bigger, we can negate some of the effects of not having this floor here anymore to practice the bunny hopping. So we'll go ahead and move this guy over to like 10. And I actually have to go to the restroom real quick, so I will be right back, and I'll mute my mic so you don't hear any noises or anything. Okay, so actually, I did. I had an idea real quick that I probably should have showed you guys at the beginning here. Oops. No, League, I don't want to open you. Wrong button. I'm going to show you guys the process to. So my goal is for this to be as like unedited as possible, and me kind of like talking to myself, because a, this should be useful to at least hopefully somebody, and b, this kind of acts as like a rubber ducky to myself. So for those that are unfamiliar with the term rubber ducky, basically what it means is like, okay, so let's say I'm stuck on a really hard problem, and I've been working on this solution for so long that I'm like kind of blind to what the solution should be. So what I would do in this case, typically, like even at work, I would do this, is I would get a rubber ducky, and so I'd grab one of the other developers on my team that has no idea how this issue works, and I would talk to them and basically explain the issue and how my code works. And through doing that process, 99% of the time, I will find a solution, because it's kind of hard to hold all of the steps of what needs to go on in your head. So by basically slowing down and explaining it to somebody, it helps reduce the complexity of the problem down to explaining it explaining the problem to someone like they're a 5-year-old. Okay, so the basic process that I do for handling my projects is I have a project board. So what I did is this project was in to do. So what I did is I assigned myself the ticket. I moved it to in progress. I went to GitHub Desktop, and I was on the development branch. I created a new branch off of development, and I called it feature/tutorial rework. So that's my workflow. So then when I'm done, I'll show you what I do. Basically, I take the changes that I have and I push them up to that branch, and we'll make a pull request. Okay, so I'm actually going to turn some music back on. I don't want to get copyright striked, so I have my desktop audio muted, so that way you guys can't hear the music. So that way, YouTube doesn't pick up on the music that I'm listening to, because it's not copyright-free music or anything. So in the future, as I'm streaming, I'll have to get some copyright-free music so you guys can have something to listen to rather than quiet. Maybe in the recorded version of this, I'll go back and add some music into it for the quiet times. But yeah, feel free to, I don't know, if you're watching the stream, feel free to ask questions. Um, but yeah, I'm just going to kind of get in the flow here and just do some level designing. So I'm thinking here, what I want to do is basically set up um, like a default route that if I set these platforms up correctly and you do it as though you're like a very beginner to bunny hopping, you should land on the dead center of the platform every jump. If you just kind of move your mouse in a perfect circle. So I'm gonna keep kind of fiddling with it and see if I can't find a nice layout that allows that to happen. In the meantime, I'm not liking the lighting as it is, so I'm actually gonna add on the lighting generation. And we'll just turn it way down in the light map size so it generates really quickly. And we'll actually turn it on GPU. It's still in preview, but I have a fast graphics card, so I'm hoping that will speed things up relative to running it on my CPU. And I turn on ambient occlusion as well as non-directional mode because we don't care about whether or not the lighting is directional, and I believe this actually makes the light maps smaller. Um, we do have some weird stretching artifacts on the side. So if we were to make them all 6 by 6 by 6, they would no longer stretch, but now they look funky. I'm not opposed to that. We'll leave it for now. We'll go ahead and add in some reset floors. Come on, Google, go away. Hmm. So it looks like if I stretch the parent object, it does not in fact stretch the particle system attached to it, which is okay. The nice part about what I have set up here is that everything is kind of, how do I phrase this? Everything is kind of based off of like either a 10 by 10 or 5 by 5 structure, so it's really easy to like remember the calculations to get the correct positions set. So the awkward thing about the way I've designed this so far is that the cubes are so big that I tried to do a 20 by 20 wall, but now I'd have to put like uh, 5 by 5 walls, like here. And I just think that'll look kind of dumb. So instead, let's just see if we can line these up a little better. And the goal here is that if you were to just jump from here to here maybe and try and jump across, you wouldn't have enough speed, so you're almost forced to go the long way. And we'll see how that ends up working out. Ooh, actually, with the way I've... Also, this guy's inside the wall a little bit. Yeah, alright, cool. Let's see how this works real quick. Also, you notice the walls don't look the best right now, just because the lighting isn't done being calculated, but that's okay. Okay, so it feels good. Now we just have to make it the looks follow the feel. And because I made this level so big, and there's I need to figure out what to do about this lighting. I'm doing like too many emissive materials, and basically each one of these floors causes like this floor and this floor are going to be competing for adding blue light to this wall, for example. So it has to like go through each one of these individual floors and figure out how it impacts the lighting. So I need to figure out a better way to do this. The only thing I can think of is to basically say like, for these 6 tiles right here, turn them into, one tile. And I'm not sure of a good way to do that as far as like the actual level design goes. So we'll have to muck with it and see what we can do. Oops. You know what? You know what? I can just cheat. Nobody's gonna see this. Can you see that from down here? If I were to jump, boing, boing. What about from farther away? Cool. You can't see the dumb walls that I made. Sweet. I'll take it. All right, let's wait a sec for this lighting to calculate, and let's see what it looks like when it's done. I gotta go check some Discord messages anyway. So it looks like non-directional stores less data, so that will make our light maps a little bit smaller. And we don't care about the direction of the lighting because we don't really have any normals built into our materials. Also, a little design decision that I made after some feedback from watching some people play. On some of the later levels, they had a hard time finding where they should even go, so I added a point light attached to each of the checkpoints. And what that does is basically draw your eye. You'll see an orange highlight where you need to go next. So it makes it a little bit more intuitive on where you should be going. All right, the lighting's calculated. Let's see how this plays. Okay, let's run back the other way and see if you could just make it by just doing regular jumps. No, you can't. Okay, perfect. That last jump is exactly why we have this level structured like that. Ooh, can we make it all the way? I purposely look at the ground when I'm jumping so I can see. You can notice the player controller allows you to kind of walk off the edge a little bit, so it's a little bit more forgiving. Whoa. Did that just reset? Ah. Hold on, I'm watching the fog real quick. Thought I saw it like jump back to its original state. We want it to kind of like seamlessly loop, kind of like a GIF. Alright, maybe I didn't see anything weird. Oh, do I still have the normal map on this guy? You can see there's like this weird outline here. I did leave the height map on there. There we go. Now you don't look weird. Also, I have some of the designers mock up a better version of this. Right now, I'm just using like some stock image that had some watermarks in it. I just wanted to get something that had the right feel. All right, let's go see if we can make this jump. If I can hit it on time. Cool. All right, cool. So that last jump is going to force them to do at least some bunny hopping. If you're So one of my goals with this game was to make it feel like Mario, where if you're a very beginner, you can still beat every level, but if you're experienced, right? So like, okay, so my thought process is a beginner should play the game like this, right? Oh man, that didn't feel right. There we go. The beginner should have to beat the game like this. Um, but if I was, if you've done the mechanic a lot, you could beat the level like so. Something like that. Damn, if I could catch the edge. So yeah, let's do a little bit of testing here to see if I can beat this in a quicker way than a normal person could. Oh, I lost my speed. All right, hold on. I think I need to turn down my sensitivity here. Okay, cool. So there is like a hidden Easter egg of being able to complete this map quicker if you know what you're doing. What might be a mechanic that's useful is basically like highlighting whatever the block that you're supposed to hop to next. Because if the player just spawned, I automatically point them forward, so it should look like they should go to this block. But if they look around, they're like, oh hey, maybe I could just like skip here and then start doing it this way. Um, hmm, maybe unnecessary. I don't know. I have to do some playtesting and see if this is like intuitive enough. Okay, so that solves our. How big is this light map, by the way? At least 7 megabytes. That's not awful. All right, we can come back to this. The look and feel of the game is still kind of underworks. The old look of the game um, was atrocious, and I needed something so that it wasn't so hard on the eyes. And this is kind of what I came up with after some feedback from some of the concept artists and the designers. Okay, so we have, let's pull up our little note. Okay, so we've taught them moving, jumping, crouching, checkpoints. Maybe we should have a level that's kind of like a intermediary, where now they know. Okay, we can do one of three things. We can do another level to reinforce the bunny hopping, like so, which I think we don't need because this level reinforces it. So we can reinforce the bunny hopping. We can just give them a level that kind of combines all the mechanics that they've learned so far to reinforce jumping, crouching, crouch jumping, and bunny hopping all in one. Or we could add in the new mechanic, air strafing. Let's go ahead and create a decent level for air strafing. And I'll explain how this works in just a second. We don't need the main camera because our player has one on it. For those that were curious how I was doing this so quickly, if you hit F2, it'll automatically let you rename versus double clicking. I prefer to not have to touch my mouse. So what I did was I created one of them, I reset its transform to, basically identity. So it's, 0 position, 0 rotation, and 1 in the scale. So that way, if I add a child to this, um, for example, the cube, um, its position that is reflected is typically the position that is reflected of something is reflected um, how far away it is from its parent. Well, if its parent is at the origin, then its position is its position from the origin. So that kind of helps me design the maps a little bit easier. So what I did is I created this guy. I reset its transform, and then I hit Control D to duplicate him, and then I can use the arrow keys to move up and down. So I just hit F2, rename him, hit Enter, moved the arrow key up, hit F2, renamed, and so on. I'm all about the minor changes you can make to make your programming and whatnot a little bit faster. Okay, let's go ahead and let's do a couple air strafing levels. Basically what air strafing means, if I go to save this guy off, I think Bunny Hop 5 has it right now. 6? Bunny Hop 6. So um, I made this level a little too easy, I think. Basically, what you're supposed to be forced to do is jump around it and control your momentum in the air, right? Because what the air mechanics allow you to do is I have full complete control over my momentum in the air, right? So if I'm in the air, I hold A and look to the left. You can see I can do I could jump out and come back to the block, and if I hold D, I can look to the right, right? Um, but what I did with this level is I made it so that you could stand on the edge and beat it like so. Um, that is a weird little overlap. Funky, huh? Is that because these like aren't? Oh, that's because you're not perfectly offset. That would be why. I also would like a material that like textures or tiles better. So like I want this to like connect to something that goes on to the next mesh below it or to the side of it. Or if I um, put this block right here, I'd like this little white spot to move over to the other block. So I'll have to talk to the designers about that. But yeah, so basically the next mechanic that I want to teach the player is to force them to learn how to air strafe. The reason I didn't do it before is because I was thinking in the Mario style of way where beginners could still beat the game. But in later levels that really restricts my capability of level design. So I should force the player to learn how to do this. So that way, um, I can design levels in ways that you should be forced to learn the actual mechanics of the game, and B, um, later on there's going to be a level editor that allows players to make their own levels in Unity, and under Tools, One Leaf, you'll have this publish map, and that'll publish it to the Steam Workshop so other players can download your map. Um, so I want to avoid restricting other people's map layouts based on the mechanics that I, as the developer, have taught people how to do. So I want to, through the level design, um, give the players a mastery over the level mechanics so that they can basically complete any of the tasks that are capable of being created. We'll actually save that change because I had that little offset on the cube. So the way I saw this working in CS:GO was you jump around those things, but the walls would get thicker and thicker as you did it. So let's go give that a try. And I think this will be the first point in the game at which I put in an Easter egg. And I might think about a different texture for um, platforms that behave as walls versus actual platforms. So I think to give the player the idea of where they need to go, we can make this guy like just tall enough that they can see under it, where they want to get to is right here, but there's this block in the way. So what they might try to do at first would be to crouch under it and kind of hop under while crouching. Um, let's play with that and see if that works. I need to set up the scriptable object first. Otherwise, the game manager will break and not let me move, which I should probably refactor and make it easier, but we are where we are at this point. And I'm just adding in BS names because I'll make it look better in the future. I don't know if I'm going to even keep any of these levels yet. Okay, this level actually is beautiful for two reasons. One, for the uninitiated, this will behave as exactly as I want it to. It'll force you to do exactly this right here. But what I'm thinking is, if I get enough speed and I do a crouch jump under here, I can kind of skirt under the bottom of it, which might make for a cool replay, like if you want to send it to your friends or something. Ooh. I think going under it is kind of unnecessary, though. But I'm always curious if there's cool ways to beat the levels that I've designed. I feel like you lose momentum too fast as you turn. I need to go look at that in the player controller. So that's how they should beat it. I think I made this jump a little bit too far. It feels a little obnoxious. Maybe I'm just bad. No, okay. It should be as simple as this. Let's let's make this a little bit easier on them and make it like, I want to make the platform bigger. The goal at this point in time is not to, like annoy the player into submission. It is to, teach them the mechanics that they need. Ooh. By making these platforms bigger, it had an unintended consequence. Now they have a bigger jump. So like, if I kept this, skinny, they could do the same thing before where they could just kind of slide along the side right here. Okay, I got an idea. Instead, we just do this. Make it a little longer. Boom, that feels perfect. Now, if I'm a beginner player and I walk up to here and you're like, oh, you have to jump around this, yoink. What if instead he tries to jump under it? Ooh, I do think that can work, actually. I don't think with the base velocity it'll work, but if somebody like learns how to bunny hop and they're like, oh, that's so cool. I like that a lot. Sweet. Okay, so now we can go add in the surroundings of the level. Give it a little look when the lighting's done, make sure it feels good. While this is only a slight permutation of what that other one I showed you is, building a new level from scratch just kind of puts it in my memory how these things have been structured so far. So I think the next level we will, oh yeah, we were going to do the Easter egg. So what I'm thinking for Easter eggs is, technically, okay, so on the checkpoints, they have a number that tells you, which checkpoint it is. So the first one would be checkpoint, doop, boop, boop, goop, click, checkpoint 1, whereas this guy would be checkpoint 2, right? So if you hit on the scriptable objects, um, the game manager checks this number of checkpoints, and if you hit the number that there are of the level, right? So there's 2 checkpoints in the level. So if you hit a checkpoint with the number 2, it will end the level, right? It'll say that you won. But what I'm thinking is I can delete this last wall. So if they're a beginner player, they can hit this checkpoint, right? Um, if they're a better player, let's continue the level and basically make the mechanic, significantly harder. Um, and there'll be a collectible at the end. Let's do that. What might also be good for these type of platforms would be maybe like a glass material, or make it look like quartz or something so you can see through it. I don't know. We'll play with it later. This kind of sparks the question in my head that um, we may need to change the color of the light on the last checkpoint to show the players visually that this is the last checkpoint, but you can continue if, at your own peril. I will think about that, and we'll come back to it. So I think what we'll do for the hard jump is put them side by side. So that way you have to go around further. We'll see if that's even possible. And instead of the checkpoint, let's go ahead and make a prefab for a collectible. The hell do we want to make a collectible look like? I don't know, we'll just put something in there for now. We'll just put like a glowing floating sphere. How about that? I think what you remember, if I remember correctly, what we were planning on doing for collectibles would be something to do with your dog, like bones that he's buried. So I could be like a floating bone. I'll just go grab a license-free one from like Turbo Squid. We had to find a bone with the correct format. Oops. Can I not drag and drop you into the downloads folder? I cannot. Interesting. Okay. We have this nice little imported assets folder. What are you? The material that comes with it? Okay. So instead of a sphere, we will just put it on our game object with a mesh renderer and mesh filter. Not in assets? Question mark? I don't want the rig, I don't want the animation. Okay. So I'm assuming you need to be 0.01 in the scale. Still massive. 0.005. Oh, actually, what if we just don't convert units? Setting for like make it float, then like I don't know, make it spin. The axis is weird for spinning. So what we should do instead is add an empty game object below and make it spin on that? Question mark. And we'll put a box collider around it so you can actually collect it. So now if we rotate the parent, can I adjust? We don't want any of that. Let's actually give this guy a particle system. So go ahead and make our own particle so we can make it glow. And to fit in our cyberpunk theme, well, I don't know, we'll make it blue. And then we'll move it down below it. Lower the size. And there we go. Is there a default shader that can give us like a Fresnel effect? That looks awful, but we'll figure it out later. We will call that good enough, and we'll come back to it. We just have something good enough. Let's see if this is beatable. Oh yeah, that's supposed to hit the checkpoint. Woo! That's a spicy jump. Oh yeah, it's beatable. Let's go. Alright, cool. We can leave that then. Also, notice how, like, since the map is symmetrical, I only ever do one half of it, and then I just copy paste it. Saves me a lot of time. If you hold shift, you can select multiple of them. Boop. Just Control C, Control V to copy paste. And we get rid of this guy. Now we drag in a collectible. Boop. And we bring him up off the ground a little bit. And we're not concerned with how the collectible works yet. We just want it to be in the map so that way the map design is done. Alright, let's see how it looks while it's actually being played. I need to add an option to toggle him off, actually. I'm going to put that in our ticket. Can you make it from standing? No, you cannot. Cool. Alright, so it is actually somewhat difficult. Dope. I don't like how that isn't, like, easy. Okay, I was just doing it wrong. Don't mind me. I want these spaced out so it feels like a fluid bunny hop, so you can kind of like relax and enjoy how this works. Hey! Oh my god, it looks awful. I mean, like, you can kinda tell what it is, but, hmm. It actually has a collider. We need to change that to be a trigger. And we'll actually just move you down below it and point you downwards. Oh wait, we randomized the direction. Rotation doesn't matter. Cool. Alright, cool. We have our first, like, collectible map. Before I fuck things up, let's go ahead and make a commit. And actually, I remembered something that I forgot to clean up earlier. We don't need this terrain data, because we're not using terrain. Go ahead and push those changes up in case my computer crashes randomly for whatever reason. Alright, so let's go back to the drawing board. Okay, so we taught them how to do checkpoints, we taught them how to move, jump, crouch, bunny hop, we did a little bit of strafing. We haven't talked about canceling the momentum in the air. That's probably something we should talk about. So, by canceling momentum in the air, I mean, like, let's say I'm jumping at this angle, I'm going to jump too far. If you hit S, you could see it stopped me, right? So, like, if I look straight down, you can see what happens. I'm jumping, and then boom, all of a sudden I hit S and go, backwards, which basically stops my momentum. So if I'm going to jump over something, I can, like, catch myself from falling over it. So let's make sure that's actually a mechanic that's ingrained in the player. Um, I do think we're going to want another level going over air strafing, because this is not enough for it to be built into your muscle memory. Um, so let's kind of right now I feel like these levels are kind of boring. Let's make a level that spices it up a little bit and kind of maybe combines the air strafing with maybe a little bit longer of a level that involves bunny hopping. Ah, I spelled you wrong. I'm sorry. You fucking what? We're just gonna undo that chain. Un yeah, that's weird. Let's go ahead and undo those changes. Do our walls come back? I forgot to save in the first place. I'm super smart. Damn. Super weird that it, like, discarded our changes. Do we still have the collectible? Yeah, okay, alright. Not as bad, I guess. I think you're like 0.5 off, yeah. And we'll put you like 1 unit above the ground. Well, maybe 1.5 so you're at eye level. My checkpoint set, yep. Let's go check our scriptable object. 2 checkpoints, tutorial 5. Ghost run data still here. I had a ticket in mind that I wanted to talk about, that I want to go add. What were we working on? It'll come back to me. If we rename it, does it cause the same issue? Huh. Must have just not saved. Cool, it updated. Alright, we're doing it. We're gonna load up some CSGO and see if I can get some inspiration. The gravity is so weird. Huh. So I definitely want to avoid hops like this because I just find them personally annoying. However, I love... Oh, shit. You can't stop bunny hopping. I find these levels personally interesting, the ones that are, like, tiered. Might be something to explore. Oh, don't stop hopping. Ooh, shit. This is kind of cool. What in the hell is that thing in the middle? I wasn't even paying attention. I'm so used to having the R key bound to reset instantly when I mess up. I gotta go add that bind. I wonder if I jump onto that if it does something. That'd be cool to like think about for an Easter egg. Well, that was anticlimactic. Where the hell? What? Reset me? Interesting. Okay. Let's think about something like that. That sounds cool. So what I'm assuming is probably going to be the problem here is that we're going to have some Z fighting, which basically means if the objects are inside of each other, you get like a weird clipping issues, which it doesn't look like I'm having. Okay, cool. Let's explore this opportunity then. Let's see what happens. Let's like have them go up in like a spiral staircase fashion. Yeah, you see how we're getting these weird clipping issues? Just means I have to offset this guy a little bit. So that way you basically can't have like two planes that are overlapping each other. Like if I move this guy this way and they're both sitting on the same x-axis, you'll see the same issues occur. It's called Z fighting because when you're rendering, Z is the axis that like from my eyes to the screen. Like if you're looking down the like crosshair, basically it can't determine whether to render the triangle on this cube or this cube. So you just have to make sure they're offset a little bit so you don't run into those issues. I'm actually going to pull that map back up. I am by no means a creative person, so I like to draw some inspiration from the maps that I find enjoyable. So I think what we'll end up doing here is um, rely upon the fact that this map design is cool, but we can also use that to kind of train our players into enjoying learning how to bunny hop up this style of wall, as well as throw in some aerial strafes to basically make this map a little bit longer with some checkpoints in it. Because as of right now, we don't really have any long levels. Oh, this guy. Bihop Sukabliad. Did it change map? No, okay. So let's go to the Steam Workshop and actually download this guy. How is it spelled? by Whitehawk. I believe I saw that. We'll download them both. And now if their server ends, we can just still be playing on our own game. So actually go ahead and turn on no clip so we can kind of fly around and get an idea for how this map works. Curious if this is useful in any way. So you go up. And I'm assuming when you hit here, it teleports you to one of these other places. I'm assuming this is the end of the level, because that's a long jump. I'm assuming there's some weird gravity going on here. What about up here? Oh shit. I'm assuming there is a weird clipping thing where if I touch something it resets me. Like a trigger built into the level. What do we got up here? Unfortunate. What if I touch you? And then I just go... Yeah, see, I love this like tiered feel to it. It looks so cool to me. Nixing all of these pain in the ass jumps. I had assumed there would be a trigger here that I was supposed to hit. No? Interesting. I wonder if you're supposed to come out and go this way. Whoa. Okay, this is a really cool idea for teaching air strafing. Gonna have to take a screenshot of that one. This is the board that we use to keep track of stuff. What did I do? Oh, I just copied the text. Damn, I am awful at this. Ooh, so you have to keep your bunny hop up. Okay. Oh, oh. That's why. How about now? I didn't even check if bunny hopping was on. Yeah, okay, now it is. Okay, this is actually cool as hell. So you fly. Assuming there's a trigger where you actually have to fly through these. And then you hit this guy. Damn, can't touch the edges. Go here, to here, to here. This guy shoots you up here. This reset is super obnoxious. Can I turn off? Show triggers. 1. Doesn't actually show triggers. Interesting. So let's reset this. Let's go back and look at that original piece. Actually, I have it stored in the brain. Actually, you know what? We are gonna do that so I can grab a screenshot. The material you have right now does not seem conducive to what we're trying to do here. Like, blends odd, but let's see if when lighting is calculated into things, if that changes. Yeah, there we go. Once the ambient lighting is added to it, it looks much better. Cool. Hell yeah, that feels good. Mm, maybe we keep them. Nah, we'll try it like this. Let's make the place you have to go maybe like right above where you start. And then now, with this current level layout, we could put an Easter egg anywhere, right? I fucked that one up. Oof. Man, I gotta figure out what the code is that makes this feel so weird. Hmm. So they'll be coming around this way, so they'll want to keep their momentum going this way. We could bring them back this way, like so. Oops. Okay, so I think after this jump, we could probably add a checkpoint. Yeah. Damn, I really want to be able to make that last jump. I want to see if it's possible. Oh, it's definitely possible. Ooh, can you beat that without strafing? Okay, cool, you can. Ooh, ooh, that's a required crouch jump, hell yeah. Ooh. Okay, I think this level is going to have to be a little bit later. I made it a little bit more difficult than I expected, but I kind of like where we're at with it, not going to lie. Ooh, that's something I need to add. When they respawn, face the player towards the forward of a checkpoint. One of the problems with what I think I currently have set up is, for example, when I respawn um, back here, you see I'm pointed towards the way that I came from, where I should, when I respawn, I should be facing the direction I need to go. That way you don't get disoriented. Nah, that one needs to be fixed. I, I feel like that whole chain you can't cleanly bunny hop. I like the idea of this pillar being what you have to jump on later. Let's do this. Let's have you go out over here and then bring you around town. The goal of the base game obviously isn't to be hard, it's just to be capable of being beaten with little tricks that you find on the map. So if I'm struggling with it, it needs to be a lot easier. There we go, that feels better. Provided I come into that with some momentum. Ooh. Yeah, that one can be b-hopped. It's almost like too hard of a turn right at the end, though. Hold on, let's try it again. Oh my goodness, my gravity might need some work. There we go. Ooh. I think this level is like just hard enough. What? I should try this without bunny hopping. Okay, cool. Easily beatable. thank God I put a checkpoint right there. Ooh, just a hair too far. Okay, so what we do, to prevent having to reset this wall, we can just move this guy. What axis are you? Z? -48. Does this still interrupt? No, we'll add another one. There you go. Now you have to do a little bit of a air strafe. Ooh. I just realized y'all can probably hear my keyboard. Sorry in advance. Can you just straight jump it? Okay, that's fine. That's fine. That's not a big deal. Ooh, those are some tight jumps. I'm assuming I was just off. I'm assuming you can make them... Fuck. Without bunny. What was that? Just like push me off the edge. Physics, please. Nope. How far are you? -28. Negative. So you are 8 units. So you should be -12. And you should be a doable jump. Let's try it. Now we have to figure out how to make all the walls and shit around this look somewhat acceptable. We may end up having to do kind of like that CSGO map did and kind of just have like a skybox. So I kind of like how open this level feels. Then adding a bunch of walls here would just make it a pain in the ass. At the very least, we need like a bunch of those on the ground, but I'm gonna have to figure out how to do that. Because in their current state, they are not conducive to being replicated quite a bit. Ooh, not bad. Let's get a little bit of momentum first then. There we go. Woo! Difficult, but I like it. We will leave it for now and get rid of this reset ground, and we'll bring it up to the team on how we should handle this one, because this is super cool, and I'd like to do more like this, but I think the light map will just be too absolutely massive in its current state, so I'll have to figure out a better way to go about this. Well, guys, I think I'm actually running out of steam here, so I'm going to go ahead and push up my changes. And I'll probably resume the stream next time I work. Saturday night, I think I'm going to go play some video games. Let's do an extra save, change scenes, make sure everything's saved. Alright, we're good to go. Alright guys, so next time we stream, we'll just be going through adding more tutorial levels. And I'll probably have done some more research at that point in time, so I can we can go look through this document a little bit more. We'll have to look at setting up a level that requires you to cancel your momentum in the air. That sounds like a tricky thing to do. And I also want to look at setting up some levels that require you to do some air movement, kind of like this guy that, you have to... It's more about the air strafing than anything, but it's more about air strafing while falling down. I think that'd be a fun mechanic to explore. Yeah, that's all I got for now. Thanks for watching, those that are watching. Have a good night.